Hello folks, it's time for this week's news and we're going to blast through it this week. There aren't too many stories to go through, but there are some interesting ones. Right, so UK petrol prices. Oil prices softened, but fuel hits £2 a litre, and there's one reason for that, and it's greed. When you see some of these forecourts, particularly guilty are some of these BP stations, but they're not by any means exclusive in this with this issue. Some of these forecourts are taking advantage of the current situation and just putting more and more on top. Do yourselves a favour, folks. Remember those people and don't ever buy fuel from them again. And don't panic by sitting in a queue for 2 hours to get it. It's not going to make it any cheaper. Right, Sony and Honda have announced a plan to make electric vehicles together. And this could be really interesting. They're going to form a new company. Obviously, I think in the news a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that Sony plan to make cars and Honda are going to produce the cars. Honda, one of the most reliable car manufacturers in the world. Honda are actually going to manufacture the car. But the new company, which is this joint venture with plenty of input from Sony, is going to do the design, the sales, the technology, all that kind of stuff. So this may be a really decent rival to Tesla fans, because Tesla obviously are really there with the technology and they've got that sort of Apple fan base, if you like, that sort of techie fan base. But the build quality's not always been the best, has it? So this might be a really great meeting of a brilliant technology company, brilliant car company. It's going to go one of two ways, I guess. 2023 Passat has been revealed here in some spy shots. This is from Auto Express, as was the first story. There you go. It looks a bit like a Passat. I'm really pleased to see a big estate car still being made in this day and age when so many of us seem to have gone over to SUVs. But just nice to see people still making big estate cars. Top Gear, we've got this one. BMW has bought Alpina. So if you don't know, Alpina traditionally take a standard BMW car, it then goes to their workshop and they do modifications on the styling, the chassis, the interior, the engine, all that sort of stuff, and basically make it a bit more sporty, a bit more aggro, shall we say. Then they're coming together, so I guess BMW will start producing Alpina cars themselves. Quite interesting, I guess. Mini stops production in Oxford until 18th of March. So following on from last week's news, Mini are now saying, look, we just can't produce cars for a bit. You know, we're going to shut the doors for a week because we don't have the semiconductors. Therefore, we can't continue with our car builds. All new Vauxhalls will be electric from 2028. I know there's a lot of love and hate from people on EVs. You know my thoughts on this? I think EVs probably are the future, whether we like it or not. And I know there's lots of problems with them. There's lots of problems with other alternative fuel ideas. But this is a fact of life. Vauxhalls will all be electric from 2028. Despite my nagging, still, last week's car news video, 71% of you that watched it weren't subscribed. What's a brother got to do? Come on, give me a subscribe and a thumbs up while you're at it. Thanks. Right, so Toyota are putting out a new GR86, which looks like a properly exciting little sports car. I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting my hands on one of these at some stage. Please, Toyota, thanks. And it looks like it's a bit more potent than is being claimed. This one comes from the Car Throttle website. A YouTube channel called FT Speed have taken one of these with 500 miles on the clock and put it on the dyno to see what it's actually producing. Toyota claims it puts out 224 bhp, but on this one they've dynoed. It's actually more like 250. 0-62 on it, 6.3 seconds. That's going to be a bit of fun. That really is going to be a bit of fun, that car. Look forward to those. So Rivian, who are the new Tesla, a lot of people are calling them, that are producing, they've got some really interesting pickup trucks that have come out that I absolutely love, actually. They look like they could be the next big thing in EVs and certainly start to rival Tesla in years to come. They've just announced a loss of 2.5 billion in Q4 of 2022. The company reported a net loss of 2.46 billion in the fourth quarter compared to a loss of 354 million from a year earlier. It posted revenue of 54 million, well below investors' expectations of 60 million. Rivian shares tumbled 13% to 35.86 in aftermarket trading following the announcement. So if you're someone that likes to take a little bit of a gamble on the stock market, it might be a good time to buy it, or it could be a terrible time because it's going to continue to tank. Let's see what happens. But I think the vehicles they're putting out look to be absolutely outstanding, so you would think that would shine through. Often when these car companies fail, they're putting out substandard products at an overinflated price. I don't think that's the case here. I think they're putting out something different and something that seems to be very good quality. Another thing I just want to mention, folks, I'm actually going to start buying and selling some cars. And I'm going to do that on the channel, and hopefully some of you be interested in seeing that content. They should be mostly fairly affordable cars and will be automatics generally. That'll be my little niche. That's my target niche in any case. If you've got a car that you're looking to sell at the moment, do drop me a note, jim@notaguru.co.uk. I'm ideally looking for cars under 5 grand, less than 80,000 miles on the clock, at least 6 months MOT, bit of service history, couple of keys, no mechanical faults that you know of. That's really what I'm looking for. And what I'm going to try and do is give you a price as close to We Buy Any Car as I can. And that's We Buy Any Car before you go and do the inspection and they start knocking you down and you have to pay them 50 quid to do it. And, you know, they find every tiny little scratch and everything else. The cosmetic stuff doesn't concern me too much. It's more the mechanical stuff that I have to be very cautious of. And then what I'll be doing on the channel is cleaning the car up, preparing it for sale, a year's advisory free MOT on it, and take you through the journey of getting the car in, turning it round and selling it on. Again from Car Throttle, check this out. Tom Hanks has just sold his Polski Fiat 126P for $83,500. I'm glad Tom's got a decent price for his car because, you know, he needs a break, this fella, doesn't he? I guess he must be on his arse financially and he's had to get rid of a few assets. But no, in all seriousness, 83.5 grand, £63,500, that is. I don't know, maybe that's a 15-20 grand car. But, you know, Tom Hanks has breathed on it, so it's worth a few quid more. Anyway, just a bit of fun. Right. Why car makers are seeking to move parts in-house. The CEO of Stellantis, and Stellantis is a brand that owns countless car brands now. What have they got? Peugeot, Alfa, Vauxhall, Fiat. Absolutely loads of brands are within this Stellantis group, which sounds like some sort of box set you'd watch on Netflix, doesn't it? He's saying now that modern car manufacturers are more assemblers than they are manufacturers. 85% of the cars are literally bolt-on parts that they're buying in from outside. And what this article is saying is because they're a middlemen to a lot of these parts, and I guess the most famous one of those would be a company like Bosch, it means it's more difficult for the individual brands to control their supply of products because Bosch might have a more lucrative deal with someone else to supply that part. And also, they're paying profit to Bosch, which they could either have themselves or, you know, reduce their sale price of their car, giving the customer a bit more value, or maybe even a bit of both. They might be able to have a bit more profit, give a bit more value, and get the cars out the door a bit faster. So we'll have to see how this actually works out in the real world. My guess is that we'll see no discernible difference and the car manufacturers will just make more profit and companies like Bosch will make less profit. If it helps to speed up production lines, who knows? So I think a couple of weeks ago I reported about the car container that actually caught fire in the middle of the ocean on its way to the US, full of Audis, Bentleys, Lamborghinis, Porsches, Volkswagens, etc. It's sunk now. So all those things are on the bottom of the ocean. 4,000 cars. What a waste that is. I know they'll be insured, but think of all the raw materials that have gone into that, all those semiconductors that everyone's in desperate need for, and all that crap that's now sitting in the bottom of the ocean. Thanks ever so much for watching, guys. Please give the video a thumbs up if you liked any part of it. And don't be one of the 71% of people watching this that's not subscribed. Really appreciate you watching. See you next week. Take care.